All right, y'all. I told you I'll be back. No intro. You can see from the title that we got some stuff that we need to talk about. One of the things that is so very frustrating is the trick bag that is given to us. And they already messing with my feed. My feed is in the yellow. Always seems to happen during conversations like this. But it's the trick bag, right? We just got done with Black History Month. Don't know how performative it was for so many who stand as so-called allies. And make money off the backs of blacks, particularly black men. Worse are the black people that ascend through the ranks, black faces in high places, and hold the line of white supremacy, institutional racism. They say things are getting better. They've been saying the same shit since the 60s. Things seem to be getting worse. They said racism was the grandparents and the great grandparents, and it was dying out. And proof of that was through interracial relationships and children. Another lie, as we can point to news story after news story of young men and women who exercise their racist ideologies on a daily basis. So we're going to get into it. The president had his State of the Union address. And while it was performative, while he stayed in his basement during the time of his election because Trump couldn't get out of his own way, as you remember, he said, "You ain't black if you don't vote Democrat." Tried his damnness not to even mention black. Did you watch the State of the Union? It's definitely appropriately named. But I want to get right into it because, again, you might not hear it from me. I mean, I'm just a black man, right? I'm hypersensitive, hyperbolic. I'm insensitive because, well, there's bigger fish to fry. There's a war. And we need to pray for those in Kosovo. But it's always goddamn something that gets in the way of reparations, actual social justice right here in this country. My father always told me charity starts at home, but there always seems to be some type of distraction. Wait, hold on. We'll get to you, black people. Just stay over there. We got to deal with this situation. And even when it's put in your face, the discrimination and the racism that's happening, we're told to sit back and pray and wish well and, oh, well, Putin is bringing this up. So, he's going to use that to divide us. No, the racism and discrimination divides us. And there are so many black men that I can tell you that are sick and tired of turning the other cheek, that are sick and tired of being told, you got to forgive, you got to wait, you need to get over it. Your blessings in heaven, or you live a nightmare here on earth. Now we're good. We're good. But let's get into it because you can't hear it from me. So those of you that are taking your talking points from MSNBC, ABC, CNN, Fox News, Facebook, the church, American media, European media. Let's check in on African media and see what they have to say about what's happening in Kosovo. Is that Kosovo? No. Fair use. Let me go ahead and put this up real quick. I will stop this from time to time just because you are not supposed to play videos just all the way through. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as, etc., educational, nonprofit, and the such. And also put another disclaimer, the views expressed on this show are not the views of G2. And I can tell you that most of the people of G2 do not feel this way. I am not one of those people. So I want to make that crystal clear. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. This is to Nati. They have almost 1 million subscribers. This is an African channel. They do a lot of good work. Been watching them for a long time.
Very clear that Western media is extremely racist towards Africans. Welcome to Tunachiki's Africa in the News. I'm Mike Mushi, and this is the show where we look at how Western media covers Africa, where we go through all the prejudice, all the racism, and all the propaganda. And in the week that saw the start of the Ukraine-Russia war, we saw the real true colors that they've been trying to hide from everybody else of Western media, how racist they are, how substandard they think us Africans are. So before we continue with our topic today, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. It's the best show YouTube. This is a good video and it will recommend it to people like you. So please make sure to like this video. It really helps us a long way. Thank you to our Patreons. Thank you to our channel members. We really appreciate you, and we are here just because of your support.
Normally I don't play that through and we just get right into the conversation. But they do put out a lot of good cultural information, not just news and current events of what's happening on the continent. But I've learned quite a bit watching this channel. So it's very informative, very educational. So please do check their channel out. All right, let's get back into it.
So let's start from the top. Russia this week invaded Ukraine, and this brought about things that we're going to talk about. So first, we'll talk about how Western media has covered this war based on how racist they are. So before I start, this is what I'm talking about. Have a look.
This isn't a place, with all due respect, like Iraq or Afghanistan, that has seen conflict raging for decades. This is a relatively civilized, relatively European.
Now the unthinkable has happened to them. And this is not a
relatively civilized, relatively European, meaning white, right? Because white is civilized. These are journalists from around the world. There's no Freudian slip. There's no loose tongue because of alcohol or drugs. This is how they feel, right? They're just telling you straight up.
A developing third world nation. This is Europe.
On est au 21e.
This isn't some developing third world nation. I mean, this is Europe, for goodness sake. Come on.
Siècle, on est dans une ville européenne et on a des tirs de missiles de croisière comme si on était en Irak ou en Afghanistan. Vous imaginez?
Could you imagine that we're Iraq? Like they're somehow above that. Okay. European people with blue eyes and blonde hair being
European people with blue eyes and blonde hair being killed, children being killed every day with Putin's missiles.
Just to put it bluntly, these are not refugees.
Oh, let me rewind that one for you. So, who are they appealing to? What are we saying here?
Des tirs de missiles de croisière comme si on était en Irak ou en Afghanistan. Vous imaginez?
I see European people with blue eyes and blonde hair being killed, children being killed every day with Putin's missiles.
Just to put it bluntly, these are not refugees from Syria. These are refugees from neighboring Ukraine. I mean, that, quite frankly, these are Christians, they're white, they're very...
Frankly, they're Christians, they're white. And then you're going to turn and you're going to say, well, we need to go ahead and, we need to pray for these folks that are exercising these clearly racist views, telling you exactly how they think, how they feel. Because that's what Black people are supposed to do, right? You notice when we get gunned down by the police, one of the things that they ask us is, do you forgive? But they don't seem to ask white victims that question. See, we're always expected to forgive. I mean, this doesn't... Wow. Tell me how you really feel. But you know what? I actually appreciate it.
Quite frankly, these are Christians, they're white, they're very similar to many people who live in Poland.
These are prosperous middle-class people. These are not obviously refugees trying to get away from areas in the Middle East that are still in a big state of war. These are not people trying to get away from areas in North Africa.
So after all that,
So these aren't the uncivilized Black people or the uncivilized Middle Easterners. Right now, they look the same to me. But it gets worse.
that insult that you've had, after all that abuse, it's obvious and plain to see Western media is racist. From Al Jazeera, from BBC, from CNN, all those correspondents couldn't believe that whatever is happening to white people, as if...
Right. Al Jazeera, CNN. Worldwide. Who are our allies?
War, pain deserves to only happen in Africa or the Middle East, right? This is the type of racism that we've been talking about. This is the type of coverage that we've been talking about since this channel started in 2016, right? Finally, after all these years of us beating the drums, almost 2,000 episodes, you're actually seeing how racist these media news organizations, these Western media news organizations actually are, right? They try to be, we're fair. They try to be, we don't have any sides, but clearly they can't believe that Europeans are the ones who are suffering this time, like as if it's magic or as if it's the end of the world. So again, that's it. extremely racist in their coverage because their whole structure of how Western media is developed is to put down other people, right? Western media was developed not to tell news, but to uplift themselves, as in to be superior. Western media is equals to white supremacy. Technically, that is, and today you've seen it in like with your own eyes. You've heard it with your own eyes. Western media is used just to.
So what are you going to believe? This media or your lying eyes? You know, when George Floyd was murdered and the riots and the protests were worldwide, and we saw very similar responses from the police in other countries around the world. Well, you can see now why Black people in other countries deal with the same stuff we deal with here. And then the major news media, they put out what they want to put out, right? They've been putting out this propaganda the entire time. Oh, so sad. This mother and child is trying to stay safe from the bombs from Russia. But all of the current colonization in Africa, from the Chinese, the French, and others, doesn't make news, doesn't make headlines. We're not talking about COVID or the economy or anything else. So everything right now is just performative. Until reparations are paid, it's performative. And now, right, what needs to happen? You have all of these folks that are going to be seeking asylum and safety. How many millions and billions of dollars are going to be diverted to help these folks out? And so we wait some more. But continue to vote. Continue to vote because we need to get Trump out of office, right? He's the big bad. And then when Black folks en masse vote for the trick bag, nothing happens. Oh, you take down a couple of statues. Oh, you make Juneteenth a national holiday. Fantastic. Means nothing.
To make the white person feel superior about themselves. They can't believe they're actually dying in a war because they've been brainwashed that war is only belonging to Africa or in the Middle East, right? So, and here's the sad part. In the history of this planet, Europe has been the most violent and most bloody place to be in, right?
Now, if you can zoom in on that. So he's giving you some history, right? See, here in America, they call it CRT and they don't want to talk about critical race theory. And what they really don't want to talk about is their own history, their atrocities. Later on, you'll hear, and you've probably heard it now, right? Putin should be tried for war crimes. They might be maybe using cluster bombs and this and that. The United States has perpetrated war crimes on Black people since the beginning. So who the hell is going to hold the United States accountable? But this is what everyone's up at arms about. But I think of all the fathers that are in prison, all the families that have been broken up through slavery, through Jim Crow, through the new Jim Crow, through the systemic racism that persists even in 2022. For all of you that get so surprised when you say, it's 2022, I can't believe that this is still happening. It's a disease. It's pervasive. Let's learn.
They are having currently selective amnesia, that they can't believe blue-eyed people, blonde people are actually suffering in war. But if you look at history, if you're a historian, this region of Europe has been home to the most bloodiest, to the most violent, to the most grotesque war crimes, to the most heinous war crimes ever committed on this planet, right? Then, to make it even worse, they spread that war, that bloodshed to other continents. They came to Africa, colonized us, murdered us, enslaved us, right? They went to...
This is a hell of a chart, right? England, UK, France, Portugal, Spain, Russia, USSR, the Ottoman Empire, Turkey, Denmark, Netherlands, United States, Belgium, Italy, Germany. Now it's time for history.
The United States cleansed that country of their native population. They went to Australia, almost cleansed that continent to their native population. So this is what we're talking about. Currently, the Western media is shocked that Europeans, blue-eyed people are actually suffering in war. But that's the norm. Just this small lull of a couple of decades, maybe 50, 60 years, that has seen peace in Europe. But Europe has had so many bloody wars. That's just minus the World War I's, World War II's, and
I'll pause that here again, so you can see the chart of the history that's not talked about. That the atrocities that have been taking place for decades. But we need to wait. Qualified immunity, we're not going to talk about that. State of the Union address, Biden says we need to give cops more money. But he's for us, right?
And all the French, British wars, all the German, French wars, they've had so much wars, they have so much bloodshed. And to make it worse, they've exported all that war, all that bloodshed to the rest of us, right? Africa has been, throughout our history, has been relatively peaceful, right? But Europe, starting from the Roman Empire, going back to the, to the Dark Ages, going to World War I, going to World War II, it's all them. And today they're acting as if they're innocent, they've never seen war, they don't know what war is. Europe is war, right? And currently what's happening to them, it's a result of what has been brewing in their political scene. So to add on top of this travesty, other than the racist reporting the Western media has been doing, also Ukrainians themselves are actually racially segregating Africans, not allowing them to escape, not treating them the same as the war victims of the fellow country, thinking even...
So let me stop there. Ukrainians discriminating against Africans in Ukraine that are trying to flee. What the hell is that? So no matter how bad it is, bombs are dropping, you're trying to get the hell out, but you still got time to be fucking racist. But then the mainstream media, other groups that I'm in, we need to stop and pray for Ukraine. Do I pray for Klans members? Do I pray for the Proud Boys? Hell no. Do I forgive? Hell no. We're not going along to get along. We're fed up. We're tired of it. And then you put your tokenized black ones in places and have them speak out and try to shut us down and tell us that we're supposed to feel sorry and feel bad and we need to pray and we need to stand back and we can't advocate for your issues now. They're going to have to wait. This is so much bigger. We waited for COVID. We're waiting for this. We waited for the election. We waited through 8 years of Obama. We waited for the first black president, Clinton. We're still waiting. We have to have a committee to see if there's even, can we just need to have a conversation about reparations. Then we're going to decide, well, who gets the reparations if we're going to get the reparations, and how is the money going to be used? And is that the best way to, be restorative in that way? Maybe we just need to do education and this and that. You gave slave owners reparations. You gave the Japanese reparations. You give them the indigenous reparations. You're giving almost everybody on the goddamn planet reparations, except for us. I watched a study from an organization that said, hey, back at some point in time, it was 40 acres and a mule. Do you know what 40 acres and a mule would do right now for foundational Black Americans? Give me 40 acres. But what they did, they said, hey, you know what? We adjusted, and we believe that every Black person should get like $350,000. Nah. A woman burns herself with a cup of McDonald's coffee and gets millions. You destroy the people that you continue to enslave. $350,000? Hell no. Let me play it again, though.
Ukrainians themselves are actually racially segregating Africans, not allowing them to escape, not treating them the same as the war victims of the fellow country, thinking even in war, even when you are escaping for your life, you still think you're more superior than your fellow human being, right? This is what we talk about when we talk about racism in Europe. Like, it's so ingrained, it's part of their culture. But if you're in Europe, you've always been fed the mind that you're superior, you're better than us Africans. You can't believe this.
You're feeling pissed off, if you're feeling like he's out of line for this, he needs to relax. I mean, there's just a better time for this. There's a different way to do this. When from the inception of news and media, through all the things that we've gone through, they have paraded us, put us out there. We fit the description. This person did this. This person did that. Labeling every Black man and every Black woman as a criminal, a degenerate. Kicking them when we're down. So it feels some kind of way to sit here and talk about folks from Kosovo that are being bombed by Russians and being critical of them in this time. Later on, you're going to hear someone else says it, but it wasn't Putin pointing guns at the Black people in Ukraine. I keep saying Kosovo. Excuse me. Wasn't Putin, wasn't Russians pointing guns at Black people. It was Ukrainians pointing guns at Black people. But let's stop and have a moment of silence and pray for the Ukrainians. Like I said, I don't pray for the Klan. I don't pray for QAnon people. No, I don't forgive. I'm good.
The things that are happening to you should only deserve to be happening to us, right? So this is what we're talking about, how they're treating Africans in Ukraine, how even if they escape Ukraine, they go to Poland, they're still being racially segregated. They're still being prevented to escape war, right?
Can you imagine that? You are scared to death that you're going to die. Men 18 to what, 60, 65, did they say, have to stay back and fight? So you're separated from your family. And you still have the wherewithal to be racist. Even in that. So what the hell do you think, black people, is going to happen when something bad happens here? When the shit hits the fan and it's time to ration food, when it's time to move, when it's time to evacuate, you think you're going to keep your spot in line? You think you're going to get a fair shake? No one knew Ukrainians felt this way, right? We're worried about our own stuff. But we know what we deal with here. You don't think it's going to look like that here? Somehow they're going to be altruistic, right? But we see all the white supremacists and white nationalists, from doctors to lawyers, armed forces, police. They permeate all through our society. And when it hits the fan, somehow you think all of a sudden they're going to be gracious and let you go before one of their own? The fuck you thinking?
So this has been confirmed by the United Nations. The EU, obviously, it's a racist body, has denied that they are actually treating Africans differently, which is obviously, they're actually treating Africans differently, right? We have got videos, we've covered it extensively, and this is what we're talking about. If you're still in denial about your racism, how will you ever change, right? How do you think you're more special than others, that other regions deserve war, but you don't deserve war, right? That's why the world should care more about you than all the conflicts that are currently going on. So let's talk about the Ukraine and Russia war, our take on it. So our take on the Russia-Ukraine war is that we don't have any take, because I'm not Russian, I'm not Ukrainian, and we always call out those Western journalists who come to Africa, who come to Kenya, who come to Ethiopia, and talk as if they are experts in the current conflicts, right? I don't know so much about Ukrainian politics. I don't know so much about Russian politics. Let the Russians and the Ukrainians, expert journalists, reporters tell you about it, right? But don't go to CNN, don't go to BBC, don't go to Al Jazeera expecting to hear any truth. From us, we'll not tell you anything about the Russia-Ukraine war, because, as I said, and I keep repeating this, I'm not Russian, I'm not Ukrainian. Their business is their business. We hope they sort it out in a peaceful manner, and it ends. That's the best I can do. This has been it. I know it's been
Let me pause right there, right? So what do we have? What have we seen leading up to this conflict? The left and the right weighing in. Well, what do they do when there's issues in Africa or Haiti? When most of the times they're behind the coups and installation or deinstallations of power. So he's not going to speak on it. He hopes they can sort it out and be peaceful. But what you need to see is that there are other parts of the world that are watching and they see. But we're so stuck in this echo chamber, in the matrix of this social media, of this legacy news media that gives us what they want to give us. And then if we try to have a discussion about it, we got an issue. We're condemned. And if you don't believe me, let's go ahead and check in with MSNBC and Joy Reid, one of the worst. This is Professor Black Truth. This is a hardcore brother. He tells it very hard. Like I told you, you're going to hear the N-word today. You might even hear me say it. And so if that, is too sensitive for your ears, but you can watch night after night black men and black women be killed, weeping in a jail cell for help for 14 hours and then die, but then hearing the N-word offend your sensibilities, then step off.
Pressure is on all Western nations to stand vigorously behind the Ukrainians. But there's also these potentials for fractures. That this is one thing Putin is good at, is trying to dig into the fractures, particularly racial fractures around the world.
Who gives a damn who says it? It's what's happening. So you're going to excuse it? We can't let Putin try to divide us and have fractures. This is what a coon looks like. This is what a sellout looks like. I was having a conversation with someone the other day. Everybody ain't a damn king. Everybody ain't a damn queen. Meritorious manumissions, those that told the slave owners that there was going to be a rebellion. That's who these people are. And they are the worst. And you know, we got them goddamn here locally too.
There have been reports of Africans, of African students, particularly medical students and others who were in Ukraine studying, and also, you know, just non-Ukrainians from around the world who study in Ukraine.
Nah, we concerned with the black ones right now. That's what we're concerned with, the black ones. So she's going to state it and then try to explain it away.
Being able to get out. We're just showing some of those pictures right now. And it's created an opportunity for disinformation.
No, it didn't create an opportunity. These are the pictures. She's like, I'm showing you the images, and then turns and says, well, this is creating an opportunity for Putin to say that Ukrainians are racist. Well, what the hell do you call it? So yeah, he's going to take advantage of someone doing something stupid, right? We do it in sports. We do it in chess. You make a bad move, I'm going to capitalize on it. You do something stupid, like get bombed, and during the bombing, you're going to be racist against the black people that are in your country? Wow.
And for fracturing the united support that there has been for the Ukrainian effort.
We are already starting to see the fracturing across social media, where people are saying Ukraine is racist, so why are we supporting them? Or Ukraine is a white country, this is a white problem. And that fundamentally misunderstands Ukrainian history and the
bullshit. Bullshit. This is a problem. We're not going to the back of the line. This is what it is. No, we don't want to see people get bombed. No, we don't want to see people get killed. But we damn sure don't want to see black people being held back and discriminated against at gunpoint, trying to get away just like everybody else. Especially when you're watching people talk about, well, you know, the blonde, blue-haired, blonde people. You know, they're dying. The kids, they're dying. They're telling you out of their own mouths they don't give a damn. There's a separation. See, this go, get along. Let's get along. We just got to go along. They can take what we have. They can make it hard for us. I've extended. I'm making millions of dollars and I'm on TV. So now I need to talk down to the black people. You're going to notice in this whole conversation, they never speak to Ukrainians and say, hey, you need to knock that shit off. It's, you know, no, we don't need to be divisive right now. This is what a sellout looks like. So get a good damn look.
Ethnographic makeup of Ukraine. Ukraine has Afro-Ukrainians, and these African students are residents of Ukraine. Ukraine is a multicultural, multi-ethnic country. And
we're a multicultural, multi-ethnic country. What the hell does that mean? No-knock warrants, getting killed in your bed, getting killed having a bowl of ice cream. Most of these people aren't even being convicted now. But that shit's on the quiet. That's not being ran in the news over and over again. How each officer now is being found not guilty. But you're going to condemn us. No, not doing it. Not doing it.
We have to keep that at the forefront. And yes, these videos that we're seeing at the border are horrifying, but we should also focus on the fact that there are a lot of people.
No. Full stop. The videos at the border are horrifying. That's it. And let's be honest. Do you really give a shit about the people in the Sudan? You didn't give a damn about no one in Ukraine 2 months ago. But you know what you say that you care about? You care about racism and discrimination, how black people are being treated. This is so destructive to have people like this. Yeah, she does look like she's getting lighter.
On the ground helping, and many of them are getting through and getting to safety. We have to be very careful with how we frame this question, but also to the extent we allow our emotions drive our response.
No, we don't have to be careful. You whip us, you kill us, you discriminate against, but we need to be careful with our words. We don't need to be emotional. We need to turn the other cheek. Damn that. Me turning the other cheek is winding up to knock your ass out. It's called momentum.
Because Russia will take advantage of this and use it as disinformation, as we have seen with the George Floyd protests in 2020, and we've seen in the 2016 election.
What I've said is that I want to hear from, the African Union. I want to hear from specific countries that have students.
No, I want to hear from Ukraine on why they would do something so despicable. No. You stay back. Let the bombs drop on your ass. We got to get up out of here. So what happens here? If, as Mark was saying, Cascadia Rising hits us and the earthquake hits us and we start getting cut off and they got to ration food, what do you think is going to happen? You think it'll get pushed to the back of the line? You don't think they're going to pull out their guns and hoard everything? Hope and prayer. Good luck with that.
Folks out there, listen to official information that's coming from these nations, not to somebody with lots of numbers after their title on Twitter, because that's not the source of information.
But also,
she just got done showing an actual video and then discounts and says, well, that's not the best part of the most accurate information. This is unbelievable. But see, if you don't understand, if you don't consume information in news outside of the echo chamber, outside of the bubble, you look at this and you just, this is horrible. And, it's a scary time. And I can just see everyone's just trying to advocate and try to save themselves. And, things happen during these times and this and that. You know what that'd be like? That'd be like me running G2 and being like, oh, white person, anyone that's not black, I can't help you, man. You know what? You go to the back, and when I help all the black people in the county, then I might help your ass. And I'm going to hold you off at gunpoint. But we're expected to do that shit. And then just take it. Exactly.
I've been saying this on social media. If you are an African or Indian or Roma resident of Ukraine, the best thing to do right now is to stay put and try not to cross right now, because I mean, this.
Wait a minute. So the bombs are dropping, all the white people are leaving, but you want the black ones to stay, and that's what you're telling them? You stay back, you stay put. Tell the white ones to stay back too. What the hell is this? This is Democrat TV Central. This is liberal central. So if this is what the hell the left feels like, what the hell does the right feel like? Who are the allies? And these are black people. So what the fuck is that?
This is a war zone, and it's only going to get worse.
Absolutely. And anything.
It's a war zone. It's only going to get worse. Stay put. Don't try to get out. And this is who we're listening to. These aren't the leaders that we elected. MSNBC elevated these voices. And then they tell us what to do, right? No, don't riot, don't protest, go home. The person who got murdered, who got shot a bunch of times, who died from a no-knock warrant, who got choked out in front of hundreds of people in the street, they wouldn't want you to riot. They would want you to go home and be calm. So just accept it. Matter of fact, go ahead and pray. You pray because when you die, you've lived a righteous life. You're going to go on into the kingdom of heaven. And vengeance is God, and he'll deal with it. You're going to find out who that white dude is on the left here soon. And why is he sitting there in silence? CBS was so racist, and they were reporting of the war in the way that they compare Ukraine to Afghanistan, saying that Ukraine was civilized. Yeah, exactly. So Ukraine is civilized, but Afghanistan ain't.
Bad that happens to somebody of color at those borders will immediately be picked up by the Kremlin and used to try to bolster their.
No, it's getting picked up immediately by black people and Africans. Give a shit about Putin and the Kremlin. Who gives a shit? Those are black people. Those are Africans. Those are kinfolk. That's the spin?
Utter failure thus far to try to take hold of a country that doesn't want them.
I suppose this is what counts as MSNBC's rebuttal to all of the bad publicity that the Ukrainians have been giving themselves for their treatment of the Africans during this war. Now, what you just saw was actually pieces from an 8-minute segment on Joke Reed's Little Sideshow. And when MSNBC posted it on their YouTube page, though, they entitled it, "Refugees Report Discrimination at Some Ukraine Border Crossings." That's the actual name that they gave to the video, but only 2 minutes of the 8-minute video dealt with that. Well, if all they were going to do was to blame the Africans and to say, well, it's not as bad as all that, and we can't blame the Ukrainians for their own behavior, why even do that? It's because when a story has gotten away from the white media, they then try to see if they can get out in front of it and put their spin on it. But in this case, they know that ignoring it isn't an option. Too many people have already seen it and are already talking about it. And because it's gaining traction, people are asking serious questions about racism in Ukraine, which is a completely separate question from the war going on there. But the white media is demanding that people cheer for Ukraine because it's a last bastion of democracy in Europe, apparently.
The pressure is on all Western nations to stand vigorously behind the Ukrainians.
Normally, when the white media tries this, they try to treat it like a one-and-done story. They act like, well, we addressed it and we're moving on.
Now, you need to hear what Professor Black Truth has to say, because he picks this apart with such clarity. And that's what we mean by critical thinking. Being able to parse out what someone is saying what they mean, what their intention is, and what the truth is behind it. Let's continue.
A dead issue now. We're not coming back to it. But in this instance, they understand the black media is on the case. So it doesn't matter what the white media is doing. We're going to be talking about this regardless. So instead, they're sending out part of the incompetent operative class, Joke Reed, with some empty-headed expert whose entire job is to give white people permission to ignore us. In fact, to demand that we be ignored. You know, the last time that Joke Reed was talking like this, it was about reparations, remember? She said anyone talking about reparations is a Russian bot. How do you spot Russian bots? Just look for certain words that they use. And then she went on to list all of our talking points.
Right. So undermining reparations. And she is not foundational Black American. So you come here from another country. We're not talking about reparations. We're talking about foundational Black Americans. As he would say, look it up.
Now, this time around, she's not claiming that we're Russian bots, but she's still drawing from the same well and saying that we're helping Russia, which is a distinction without a difference. Just because Vladimir Putin is invading Ukraine doesn't mean that the black people in Ukraine should accept the Ukrainians' racist discriminatory behavior. When people are forced to walk several hours in the freezing cold of winter because the Ukrainians, and probably the Polish too, are refusing to allow them to leave from the nearest possible border crossing, that is imprisonment. So we see this pathetic, desperate effort to try to invalidate these incidents. They can't deny that they happen, so they're trying to minimize them. First up, you had Anna wannabe Aryan Navarro with the ridiculous and totally unsubstantiated claim that she had some friend on Twitter who told her that none of this was really happening.
When there was video footage, multiple video footage. But Navarro went on national TV to say, oh, my friend over there said this. That's not really what's going on. Again, who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes? Rodney King. No knock warrants. Go in and kill someone within seconds. They were afraid for their lives.
So all those videos were made up, right? Now it's Joke Reed's turn. She's saying, okay, it happened, but it's all a Kremlin plot to distract people from Vladimir Putin's evil deeds, to make the Ukrainians look bad, and to fracture the precious unity that we must have at this moment for the Ukrainians.
We are already starting to see the fracturing across social media where people are saying Ukraine is racist, so why are we supporting them? Or Ukraine is a white country. This is a white problem.
Can you believe?
Why would I support racist people? Why would I do that? Why the hell would I do that?
Though that empty-headed heifer actually had the nerve to discount the idea that people are simply pointing out that Ukraine is a white country. Ukraine is a white country because Ukraine's leaders, the people who Vladimir Zelensky has working for him, they said so.
I'm sorry, it's very emotional for me because I see European people with blue eyes and blonde hair being killed. Children being killed every day.
Shit, drop the mic. Ukraine's deputy chief prosecutor. Drop the mic. What else can you say? What else should there be able to? What else do you need to hear? What else do you need to see? See, the thing is, it's going to be so hard for people to listen and hear. Well, I just don't agree with, the emotion and the anger, and there's just got to be another way, and that's what I'll hear from the allies. The people that are down for the cause. See, diversity of thought is all good until this is the thought. Inclusion is all good until this is the inclusion. Oh, let's play it again for you.
the people who Vladimir Zelensky has working for him, they said so.
I'm sorry. It's very emotional for me because I see European people with blue eyes and blonde hair being killed. Children being killed every day with Putin's missiles.
I see black people, black boys, black girls, black women, black babies being killed every day in the United States and other places. I mean, damn. But you know what? That's how I like my racism, though. Straight up in my face. I actually prefer that. Let me know where you stand. Don't shake my hand and have a knife behind your back. So I appreciate him. I actually do.
You have the deputy chief prosecutor of the country. He gets on international television to make a plea to the world for help. And what is his plea for help? It's a bit of white pride self-aggrandizement. That's how he asks the world for help. Think about the blonde-haired, blue-eyed children. Oh, he knew exactly who his audience was. This wasn't a segment Joke Reed was doing. It was an attack. This entire PSA for black subservience in the face of white aggression was a damned insult. Joke Reed telling us to just shut up and listen to our betters. Don't listen to these people on the internet or on Twitter. You should listen to me. Okay, and what next? Is she going to say don't watch any videos showing Africans being mistreated in Ukraine? In fact, if there are any black people who are saying that racism exists, don't watch those videos. You need to wait and see what some paid-for bootlicks on cable TV say before you actually make up your mind. Black bootlicks for the white media? Oh, they know better than us. Because that's basically what she said with that crap about the videos are horrifying, but there's people on the ground trying to help. So the message is clear. Stop listening to those black media people. Unless the person talking to you has a show that was given to them by some racist people at NBC, don't you pay them no, never mind.
And they don't want to teach black history. They don't want to teach actual American history. See, soon, I was having a conversation yesterday. It'll be like it never happened. I agree with what he was saying there. That's why they're trying to pull it out of schools. And again, we have so many that are elevated to these places of power and prestige to bring the message, to condemn. How many times has Obama sat in that same seat and talked down to us and told us how we needed to get our act together and what we needed to do? Almost like we were just bringing it on ourselves. And if we stand up for ourselves or if we speak out, well, you know, you're going to rub the allies the wrong way. People aren't going to want to help you. People aren't going to want to work with you. Well, they're just letting you know who the fuck they are from the beginning. And they're just playing the game, either because of guilt, shame, or because they can't make it on the right. So they'll come and slide up aside you because it looks good, makes them feel good. But when it comes down to it, nothing ever changes. And it's getting worse. It's not getting better.
If they show you video of black people being mistreated, don't get outraged. Don't allow our emotions to drive our responses. Ain't that what that Varnon woman said?
We have to be very careful with how we frame this question, but also to the extent we allow our emotions drive our responses.
Interesting because...
Oh, and before, you know, the black ones say, oh, I can't believe that a black man would tear down a black woman in such a way. I don't give a goddamn. This is a sellout. These are coons. These are traitors. And again, I said we got local ones also. And we're going to get there. Understand, the veil is coming off more every day. So if you ain't doing what you're supposed to be doing, understand you're going to get called out just like Joy Damn Reed. And you can hide behind the white power structure that exists here in Kitsap County, and you can defend each other. Not gonna fucking matter.
So far, Ukraine has only sustained a very small, tiny loss of life compared to, say, Sudan, Syria, or Iraq, you name it. And yet the white media and people like Joke Reed and this Varnon woman, they've been telling all of us that the very fate of democracy itself no longer lies in what's going on in DC, but now it's over there in the Ukraine. Why? The fate of democracy hangs in the balance on what happens in Ukraine. And they've used nothing but appeals to emotion to get people to support Ukraine in this case. Now, did the white media use appeals to reason? No, they used images of white people in lines, white people crying, white civilians making Molotov cocktails, grandmothers holding assault rifles. Yeah, because Granny Goochmeyer is going to hold off the Red Army. While there's no questioning that Ukraine is definitely in danger, there's also no question that a lot of this stuff is being set up simply to get people to feel a certain way. Nobody's actually going to put their freaking grandmother out there on the front line against the Russians. The freaking recoil from an assault rifle would probably knock her out, if not kill her. What I'm saying is it's a little bit late for the boneheads over at MSNBC to be saying, don't allow our emotions to drive our responses. That's exactly what the white media's been doing. The white media's coverage of Ukraine, the way they've been going about it, has been the epitome of using emotion to drive people's responses. I showed you about how
white people love to quote the good parts of MLK, and you hear this one all the time, right? Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So we're not overlooking it. It ain't happening.
You had all of these white reporters who were talking about Ukraine as if this place was freaking fairyland, as if it's just the most wonderful place ever. Why? War in Europe? Yeah, because there were no wars going on in the 90s in Yugoslavia. I'm sorry, the former Yugoslavia. Kosovo in the 90s, that wasn't going on. I mean, war is a foreign thing to Europe, right? And they didn't have war in Ireland.
Told you, you're getting history tonight.
Ireland up until the turn of the 20th century, right? Right? I saw a story in Britain about this guy who clearly you can look at him and tell he's not white. And yet here he is going to the Ukrainian embassy in London and asking them to let him sign up for the Ukrainian army so he can go over there and fight the Russians. He wants to volunteer to fight. Now, considering that this guy isn't white, for his sake, he better hope the Ukrainians don't assign him to the Azov battalion. They don't like non-whites.
Oh. Are those Ukrainians? Let me start my prayer right now. We'll just stop. Just stop right here. Just take the image in. Looks like a lot like America, right? And I wonder, you got this picture, but most of the faces are blacked out to protect the innocent, right? Because they're innocent. What do you think is going to happen when it falls apart here? You think those people right there are going to come and say, hey, black person, let's make sure you eat and your kids are okay? You've been a good Democrat. I mean, lambs to the slaughter. Honestly.
Very much. But when you look at what it was that Joke Reed was saying, there's a particular talking point that's been used by a lot of these bootlicks, whether it's Van Jones, Al Sharpton, Joy Reid, or whomever, and it's that black people have an obligation to suffer and die in silence for the political convenience of white people. Joke Reed.
No, you don't. You don't, black man. You don't, black woman. You don't, black son. You don't, black daughter. I know that's what you were taught. That if you kept your head down, if you kept your nose clean, which I think is a saying for not doing cocaine. you'll be all right. You know, if you don't break the law and you don't do anything, you won't have nothing to worry about, right? Tell that to the no-knock warrant guy. Hell, there was another no-knock warrant where they came in for a pit bull. Botham John was eating ice cream on his own goddamn couch. I could be sitting here doing a podcast. They can kick in the door and blow my ass away. So no, you don't. And no, you shouldn't. Don't be a sellout. Don't be a coon. And don't be a performative ally and pretend like you're with us when you're not. And tell us, oh, there's got to be a better way or a softer way. We're not making progress. How many flyers did you see for MLK where they're twerking? Where was the MLK event in Bremerton this year? Where was it? It got canceled due to COVID, but a lot of other shits happened. Okuye, a damn near one-woman army, put on a MLK event. Is there a planned replacement for that? Or are we past that now? Or are you just going to combine it with Juneteenth? Maybe we'll get some twerking and some stripper poles for that shit.
Reid sounded bold, telling black folks they need to ignore all this anti-black racism. Yeah, I know you guys are seeing this mess, but don't lose sight of the big picture. And that's defeating Putin. So Ukraine can remain independent and free. Free to do what? To hold demonstrations saying to free Derek Chauvin? To protect and promote neo-Nazis in the Ukrainian military? What?
Oh, he's bringing the fucking receipts tonight. So this is 2020 in Ukraine. Free Derek Chauvin? Okay. So you want me to stop in the middle of the meeting or before we have a meeting and pray for Ukraine? Get the fuck out of here. How about we stop and pray for my uncles and my nephews, my aunties that are in prison serving sentences for fucking marijuana when damn near every weed shop is owned by a white person. And now it's legal, but these people are still locked up. How about we let out everyone that committed a crime due to crack and give them mental health, give them housing first. Free Derek Chauvin.
What exactly is Joke Reid and the white media telling us that we need to be supporting? Some virtuous, altruistic Ukrainian government, or as the empty-headed woman put it,
Ukraine is a multicultural, multi-ethnic country.
European people with blue eyes and blonde hair.
Putin is a bad guy, and so is Kim Jong-un. But if those two were to go to war, am I supposed to root for one of them? Not every fight has a good guy and a bad one, is what I'm saying. And I judge a nation's virtue or its lack thereof by their behavior. And my judgment of Ukraine isn't just based on what they've done to the Africans just in the last week. We can go back nearly a decade and see the country is racist from its sports fans to its military. That's not...
Speak on it, Dr. Professor Black Truth. So this ain't new. We just don't look at it. We got our own fish to fry. We're trying to stay alive here. We're not thinking about what's happening across the world. But they're thinking about us. Free Derek Chauvin.
Fracturing the unity. That's simply stating the facts. How are you going to let an openly neo-Nazi militia officially become part of your army and keep that neo-Nazi militia around with a stylized Nazi swastika as their unit symbol? How are you going to defy international?
Hold on, Professor Black Truth. Wait a minute. Isn't that the same thing that's going on? We had the protest, and then you had these folks coming over and having the Proud Boys come and help and support.
Objections when you're told to disband them and then tell me that that makes you the good guys. The good guys fight racism. They sure as hell don't protect it. But that's what the white media said, and they did it by leaving out the mountain of information that they didn't want people to see. And if people do bring it up, well, here comes Joke Reed and Anna Navarro and some other women of color who are going to be saying, you can't mention that. We can't let Putin win. The stakes are simple.
Now look, let me go ahead and pause because we got someone over here just to kind of prove the point. Ain't you too old to cry over racism online? Should another male group think about you? I really don't give a damn if you think about us or not. I sure don't give a shit about you. You watch Cynthia G. For those of you that don't know, Cynthia G is someone that says she's a black woman on YouTube. And one of her major things is that you should abort black babies. Right? So I want you to show you what's happening in real time. Now, is this a Russian bot? Where are you from, Habisha King? Habisha, where you from? Oh, I'm amazed by Putin White Alpha Energy. Yeah, I love it. So you're getting it in real time, right? I want you to see it. Because this is what it is. So what you're seeing is a real world demonstration. No, but see, what we do is we say, no, don't moderate. You could moderate, but I don't want you to moderate it. I want it to be there because black people need to wake up. You see what I'm saying? This is perfect timing because it goes to prove the point.
Simply too high. Where have we heard that before? Basically, we hear it every 2 to 4 years from the Democrats. We know what black people are saying. We know the harm that's been inflicted on you, but you guys can't be asking for anything. You sure as heck can't be fracturing the unity of the party. Why, we've got to win in November. The stakes are too high. Democracy hangs in the balance. A democracy that black people in this country have never experienced. We can't let Putin win. You can't let Putin win. Black people in Ukraine, they're fighting both Putin and the Ukrainians. That wasn't Putin's army that was pointing guns at those Africans. It was.
Wow, that's a mic drop. Yeah, it wasn't Putin pointing the guns. It's Ukrainians, right? It's a hell of a statement. It's a hell of a statement.
Wasn't Putin's army that was shoving those Africans off the trains leaving the country and telling them these are Russian-only trains. Russians weren't the ones who were blocking the Africans from crossing the border to safety. The Ukrainians are doing all that, and most likely the Polish as well, which is why the Nigerians were telling their people to avoid the Polish border altogether and try to cross at Romania instead. This is what Joke Reed and the good folks over at MSNBC are telling us that we shouldn't talk about, we shouldn't mention. Fracturing the unity. Somebody needs to tell the Ukrainians they're the ones fracturing the unity. Shouldn't she be telling Vladimir Zelensky that he needs to tell his thugs in his racist government that they need to stop discriminating against black people? Wouldn't that be a lot more effective? Nope. The white supremacists are never obligated to change their behavior. It's black people who better sneak around and duck and dodge and try to just stay out of their way. Whenever white supremacists attack black people, it's always our fault. We're always lectured about how we.
And right on cue, it's always our fault. And if you read the chat, right, that's kind of what he's saying. See what I'm saying? That's like perfect. So glad you're here, buddy.
We should have done something different, or we have some clown giving us advice on what we can do to make sure the racists don't have a chance to attack us. And their advice always consists of basically hide in your homes or stay put, as the woman put it. Keep out of sight, and whenever they do mistreat you, well, just take it in stride. Don't lose sight of the big picture. This Kimberly Varnon woman, she's the most condescending, patronizing heifer I've seen in a long time. You know, she talks the way that I would expect a condescending white liberal female to talk. These videos are horrifying, but we should focus on the fact that there are people on the ground helping. Yeah, never mind all these black people who are being mistreated, being forced to walk several hours trying to leave the country. We should just focus on the people who are trying to help instead. Don't worry about the Africans. Don't focus on them. Focus on these other people, mostly white. We'll be focusing on them instead. That's the entire point that you hear consistently throughout what they say. Ignore the black people, ignore the black people, ignore what they're saying, just ignore them. Who is on the ground making sure that this mess stops happening in the first place? The fact that this Varnon woman didn't even pretend to answer that question, that tells us everything we need to know. We have to be careful with how we frame this question. In other words, niggers, you better watch what you say. That's what she's saying. This is the problem with black people who ally themselves with these white political parties and organizations. You start talking like a white liberal or a white conservative. That means there's a lot of finger wagging at black people no matter what. You see black people being harmed or even killed, and instead of reacting with indignation, if not outrage, instead they give some patronizing lecture, minimizing it and telling us it's not as bad as all that. These bootlicks put on a show when they know masses watching. They make a show out of their contempt for other black people. But I think the topper had to be when she said the Africans in Ukraine just need to stay put. After all, it's a war zone out there.
I've been saying this on social media. If you are an African or Indian or Roma resident of Ukraine, the best thing to do right now is to stay put and try not to cross right now, because, I mean, this is a war zone and it's only going to get worse.
Really? Now, notice how she doesn't give that sage advice to all the white Ukrainians who are fleeing the country. She doesn't say,
well, facts on that one.
That, you know, all these Ukrainians leaving, they need to stay put. To all these white people, just stay put. It's a war zone. She doesn't say that. She saves her advice for the black people. Tells them, you guys need to stay put. Everybody else can leave, not you, though. You just need to stay put. And why do the Africans and the Africans alone need to stay put? Why can't they leave?
Anything bad that happens to somebody of color at those borders will immediately be picked up by the Kremlin and used to try to bolster their utter failure.
Well, considering that it's the Ukrainians who are the ones carrying out these racist acts, I'd say that's their problem. I mean, Joke Reed and the white media, they act as if it's such an imposition for the Ukrainians. Say, you Ukrainians, the odds are 1,000,000 to 1 that you can beat the Red Army, so are you going to go to war with them? Absolutely. Impossible is nothing for us. For our homeland, we will do anything. There is nothing we will not do. Nothing is too difficult for us. We will take on the whole world. Great. By the way, stop throwing black people off the trains and being racist towards black people. Oh, that's impossible. We cannot do that. That's simply too difficult for us to do. I mean, the damned nerve of these two. Literally telling the victims of white racism that it's their responsibility to take all the blame for what these white supremacists do. Don't consider yourselves under house arrest. Why? We're doing this for your own good. Because if you Negroes try to leave, why? Those white supremacists, they'll have no choice but to be racist towards you and mistreat you and make you walk hours just to try to get out of the country. It's going to be on video, and that's going to make them look bad, and it's going to fracture the unity of our fragile alliance. Then nobody's going to give the white supremacists and the Azov battalion any weapons or money, and Putin's going to come in here and steamroll these people and kill a whole bunch of them, and it's going to be all you niggers' fault. It's not going to be the Ukrainians' fault for refusing to act like decent human beings. Apparently, that's beyond a number of them, but it's going to be your fault because, well, you just didn't stay indoors, and they can't control themselves, so you should take responsibility for that. That's what they were saying. So the Africans have an obligation to stay in that war zone. Now, the white Ukrainians can leave at will, but the Africans, they have to stay. Sure, it's not their home, and they're not familiar with the place. And this is definitely not a place for strangers to be at, but they have to stay. For the good of democracy, no doubt. Where you got all these people leaving because it's not safe to be there, but they should stay because apparently it's safe for them. So apparently the bullets and bombs and all the munitions and such are going to miss them because they're black. Apparently that's what this Varnon heifer seems to think. You know, if her sage advice is good enough for the Africans, why wasn't she giving it to the white Ukrainians? She's not saying a word about all those white Ukrainians fleeing. She's not saying that none of them need to leave. She just says the black people need to stay put. She's telling the Africans to do exactly the opposite of what the white Ukrainians are doing. Now, the white Ukrainians can stay or leave. Looks like a hell of a lot of them are choosing to leave, but the black people, no, you guys got to stay. Now, since this Varnon woman feels like she doesn't need to tell Ukrainians to stay put, we're left with only one of two inescapable conclusions. Either she doesn't care how many Ukrainians die, so she's not going to advise them to stay put, stay at home where it's safe, don't go out. Or she doesn't care how many Africans die, so she's trying to take away their options and telling them to stay put. It's one or the other. The current situation in Ukraine cannot be safe enough where you can just stay put if you're African, but so dangerous that if you're white and choose to leave, that's okay too. Both of those things cannot be true. The African...
Make that make sense. Check him out, because he spits hard truth over there. Hard truth. And you know, we got our guest on here, so let me just show you who Cynthia G is since he brought her up. There we go. He's saying Cynthia G is right. Do women benefit from birthing black males? Call in. If aborting black males isn't the solution, what is? So we know what we're dealing with, right? We know what we're dealing with. I'm going to pass that up, but I wanted to get into the State of the Union. And one of the things about the State of the Union, which is so interesting and fantastic, is we'll go ahead and get rid of him now. We'll go ahead and get rid of him now. We got to show everything that we wanted to show for him. But he did us such a favor. This is from the Young Turks. QAnon conspiracy movement continues to grow. I can't believe that this is still happening in 2022. I can't believe that a little old podcast like mine in little old Kitsap County could get someone from across the country to come in and hurl such racist and vile things. Ain't that something? Little old me. Well, I'll be. But maybe you can't hear it from me. That's why I think you need to hear it from someone else, because maybe you'll believe it. Now, the Young Turks, as you know, they're hit and miss for me. They tell more truths than not. Some of the things they say are problematic. But that's with all things and all people, right? Everything I say isn't going to be the gospel. That's just fact. But they had a post-State of the Union commentary, and they would consider themselves definitely progressive. I don't know how far left they consider themselves, but they definitely consider themselves more progressive than Pelosi. They love AOC. So that gives you an idea. But let's go ahead and check in with what they thought of the State of the Union.
Speaking in only one word things from now on. No, all right, Isaac. No, Isaac writes in, compared to Trump, this is such a relief. Good point. It had to be made at some point. So,
right. So, and this is what black people have been told, right? Compared to Trump, what a relief for Biden. We keep being told that, right? Don't vote Republican because, well, you know, they're racist and they want to harm you. Their policies are going to hurt you. And it's like, so what do the left's policies do? And we're not even talking about Senator Joe Manchin. We're talking about Pelosi and others. We're talking about Kamala Harris. We're talking about Obama. But okay, you know, I mean, well, he's not Trump. We should just be, thank our lucky stars. We're not getting whipped. We should be happy that we're not getting whipped. At least that's not happening. Okay.
Yeah. Look, well, it's because Biden's like, okay, I'm not really going to do anything. I'm going to lull you to sleep. Trump would come in and go like this, and an actual fire would start, and there'd be a conflagration, and you'd be like, ah,
yeah,
and like you're trying to save like cats and dogs, and so yeah, I guess slumber compared to that is a relief.
What it feels like to me is getting waterboarded for 4 years, and then they stop pouring water. They take off the thing. You look around. There's a bunch of people that supposedly are there to stop you from being waterboarded. And so you're like, hey, so like I'm still tied down. Could you stop this? And they're just like, and then a couple years go by. All over.
Wow, that's a good ass analogy. That's a good ass analogy. He gets a horn. It's exactly what it feels like.
That's what it feels like. We should be being saved right now, but it's just a respite from the water.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's a great analogy. And we're all in kind of a stunned disbelief, like, you're really not gonna untie me? Like, I get that you're not waterboarding me right now, but wait, I thought I was gonna go home. Are you serious that you're not gonna untie me? Like, that's such a great analogy. Nice job. You guys are killing it today.
The thing that frustrates me the most is it would be one thing if Joe Biden was president, he was one of those presidential candidates that clearly just decided, well, I'm rich, what do I do now? I guess I'll run for president. And he becomes president and then totally wastes it. But he's wanted to be president for decades. He's thought about it as long as I've been alive. He's been trying to get.
Well, I did run, right? And most politicians say, oh, it was a great cost to me, but I got pummeled by mainstream media. Biden, they don't give a about that. What is the only thing he cares about? That cancer bill, because his son died through that. So he actually really cares about that. So he spent.
What about the trains? He didn't even talk about the choo-choos today.
He talked about electric vehicle chargers. That's good.
God, 500,000. Thank you for bringing us to, again, 97, where we should have been.
Yeah. No, like easy way to understand the motivation of politicians. Ego, period. We're done. Yes, Trump is more brazen about it. He's more over the top and ridiculous about it. But at the end of the day, is Biden have much purer intentions? But Biden's not evil. He's not trying to do harm. It's not like I want to get higher by crushing the skulls of everyone below me, right? That's more Putin and Trump. But Biden doesn't care either way. He just wants to get, elevated, his status, etc. I don't think Obama is much different at all, by the way.
Wow, did he just say he didn't believe that Obama was much different at all? So it ain't just, a few black men that feel that way. These are the progressive folks, guys. Just saying.
Or whatever,
Yeah.
And it is exactly what it is. What Jake's saying, like you rack your brain, and it's the answer is power. That's it.
Ego. Yeah.
Power and ego.
Yep. All right, John's got updates before we're out of time.
Oh, no, not really. I was going to say that the good news is that she has not dropped it all, but the bad news is that it's because they're just not going to give us any more votes. We're still at 66%. No, we haven't gotten a
race Like the most interesting races are the ones that are the closest, but those are the ones that drag out the most.
Yeah.
Which reminds me of the time we were in New Orleans and we were watching local news. Okay, so Josh has this thing that actually Bill Hader makes fun of, does a parody of, okay?
Yeah.
So you know that it's that enough Americans get it. So Dateline's been on the air for approximately 85 years straight, right? And they used to do a variety of different news until they realized the only thing people care about is murder mysteries, okay? Real life murder mysteries. So Josh is forever in the Bahamas about some murder that was done there, okay? And so, but you didn't know that, did you?
Who got very excited and tried to overturn an election and storm the Capitol building. I mean, literally, Republicans would talk about it every single day. Every single waking breath would be about that. To score political points, no political points scored. Like if you could rate political points scored in that speech, 0.
Yeah. No, it's such a great point.
0.
No, I'm declaring Francesca and John co-MVPs.
Somehow, who got very excited. Have to talk about what happened.
This is Theiros, but possibly a feud with a make.
What I wanted to show for you there doesn't appear to be in that one. But if you watch the State of the Union, Biden, he was very full-throated on giving the police more money. He wasn't going to do away with qualified immunity. So how are we any better off? How are we any better off? And even with the Supreme Court pick, which again, performative, the court is stacked. So even if she was progressive and she's not, she's quite moderate, if you've done the research. How is that going to help? So we're always given these things that don't actually give us any kind of fundamental change. We're always in the same place. But at the same time, we're running out of time. We're falling further and further behind. What do they say? The wealth in Black America is going to be 0 in less than 20 years. And that was before COVID. The life expectancy of Black people decreased by 3 years due to COVID. Kind of moving in the wrong direction. So how does QAnon continue to grow? How do white nationalists continue to grow? And what does that actually mean? Because again, as they were saying on the Young Turks in January 6th, when people were taking private jets because they were business men and women, when they were professionals, when they were active duty, retired, police. How's that going to work out for us? You know, I don't celebrate Juneteenth. I will not celebrate Juneteenth. I'll help folks that do advertise it because I'll support them. But these things that we do, to me, is a waste of our money and our effort. And while it has its place, unfortunately, all of that energy, all of those funds that could go to reestablish our own Black Wall Street, which, you know, they destroyed, to create our own schools. We've seen so many stories of racist teachers doing horrible things to our children. And then we get mad and we say, well, you know, this shouldn't be happening. And the question is, well, why would you have your kid in the school being taught by the people that hate your kids? But we just demand to be integrated. I demand to be in a place where I can be discriminated against. Okay. You got it. So when our black boys are not at reading level in the 4th grade, when many are illiterate when they graduate high school, and we look around and we're like, well, how the hell did this happen? Seriously? Seriously. It's a lot. Now, what I wanted to show you, I'm not a member, so they won't let me go to Dr. Rashad's page. But Dr. Richie Rashad is part of the Young Turks, and he has a show on there now. And every day he has, a segment, I wish a Karen would. And on that segment, he's showing, Karen's on a plane going crazy, doing all kinds of just ratchet stuff, right? But he also covers, police brutality and what's happening when they're not being convicted or they're being let off. So that's Dr. Rashad Ritchie there. And he does a whole show in the morning. And then later on in the afternoon, they break it up into segments so that you can, digest it smaller. But it's something to check out. Oh, here we go. Are they gonna let me see it? Okay, cool. So we're just gonna go over just the last 2 months, just this year. Black man wins 900,000 settlement for wrongful. 2 Karens get away with their crimes. Dr. DeSantis shames black students for masking. Oh, that's
Governor DeSantis tells a group of youth, take off your mask.
This is the second runner-up to Trump, by the way. So this is probably who's going to end up running on the Republican side.
Ask. This COVID theater is getting ridiculous now. Let's show a screenshot of him walking up to these young people. So the governor of Florida, who's responsible for the death of thousands, DeSantis was at the University of South Florida to announce funding for their cyber education. Before taking the podium to address the audience, the governor scolded a group of students standing behind him. The students were wearing face masks. He says, "You don't have to wear those masks." The students chuckled. They actually laughed. They thought he was making a joke. And then he says, let's go to the next graphic. And then he says, please take them off. Honestly, it's not doing anything. And then he ends up with, and we got to stop with this COVID theater. So if you want to wear it, fine, but this is ridiculous. But then he does the Karen exaggerated breathing, all right? Governor.
Why is that important? Because you got people telling your kids what to do. They're putting them in harm's way. And unfortunately, some of our kids will listen. And see, the thing is the comorbidities is one of the biggest indicators of who's going to really be impacted by COVID. Oh, and deaths are slightly up here in America. So there's that too. Oh boy. Biden ignores Black Lives Matter and demands to defund the police.
State of the Union.
And who can restore trust. I know what works. Investigating crime prevention and community policing, cops who walk the beat, who know the neighborhood, and who can restore trust and safety. Let's not abandon our streets or choose between safety and equal justice. Let's come together and protect our communities, restore trust, and hold law enforcement accountable. That's why the Justice Department has required body cameras, banned chokeholds, and restricted no-knock warrants for its officers.
Chokeholds are still happening. No-knock warrants are still happening.
That's why the American Rescue Plan that you all provided $350 billion that cities, states, and counties can use to hire more police, invest in more proven strategies.
Another sellout right there.
Proven strategies like community violence interruption, trusted messengers, breaking the cycle of violence and trauma, and giving young people some hope.
What hope? Hope that you might survive your encounter? How is that trauma reduction?
We should all agree the answer is not to defund the police. It's to fund the police. Fund them. Fund them.
Oh, look who's standing. Fund them. Fund them. Fund them. That's our president, Joe Biden. That's an interesting pause. I didn't do that on purpose.
Fund them with research.
Let me count the ways here. Police departments all across the United States of America have received more funding in the last 2 years than in the history of the existence of a known police department in the United States of America.
What? So during George Floyd, they've actually been funded more in the 2 years than the entire history, but they need more money. Okay.
It has not decreased crime. It has not resolved. It has not created remedy for injustice and violence. You still have record police involved murders. You have record police involved prosecutions where they are prosecuted by the local, state, or federal government.
What? Record prosecutions against the police, but they got all this money. So let's throw money at it. Throw money at the military. We throw money at everything. But we need to do a study for reparations.
More money has not solved that problem. And as a matter of fact, I want you to think of it this way. If your city or your county is bragging about hiring more cops and you are applauding that, do you understand what they're actually saying? They're telling you they cannot solve the problems. If your county, your city is hiring more cops, cops are reactionary to crime. If your city is hiring more cops, that means that they need more reaction to crime, which also means they have not addressed the criminality in their city or county.
And cops are turning off their body cams if they're ever on in the first place, right? You've got multiple states trying to pass laws where it's illegal to record cops. So how are we supposed to protect ourselves? All right. Active duty. Active police. So when it goes bad and you're trying to get help, you're trying to provide and survive with you and your children, your loved ones, and the gun's pointed at you, I don't know. You're not preparing though, right? You going to the club? It's Thursday. Ain't it ladies? It's ladies' night. Maybe you're getting ready for the club. You already see how they feel about you, right? You know, the brother who was in the chat earlier, right? Someone who would be called an ally. Yeah, he just showed how he feels, right? All right. You'll be all right, though. Just put your hand out.
That's what it means. Hiring cops, more cops, is not something to brag about. The need for less cops is what you brag about, because crime has decreased so much, we have to now restrict the number of cops we hire because we don't need as many cops anymore. That's the idea. That should be the goal, to have less cops in your city, not more cops, because police officers are reactionary agents.
Damn, that just kind of sounds like logic. Man, that's kind of crazy, ain't it? Right wingers throwing in for Putin. Ex-cop accused of 80 crimes fakes his death. Karen throws a fit over BLM merchandise, goes crazy. Cop found guilty of murdering his wife. Teacher allowed to resign for slapping a student. Adults watch a student beat a nonverbal child. School officials arrested for disgusting cover-up. Cop convicted of murder, free on bond until the trial. Proud Boy leader drops the N-word after punching a woman. Oh, that's
Proud Boys leader decided to punch a black woman and call her the N-word. This coward is here. Here it is.
He's a cop, apparently.
Bitch, shut your mouth.
He's trash. Let's put up his picture.
He wasn't charged with a hate crime. You know, even though he's calling her a nigger. Okay. Police chief's abhorrent crimes went on for 13 years. Nebraska lawmaker resigns in scandal. This is what I was talking about. Arizona GOP pushes a bill to restrict filming cops. Okay. Former NYPD union boss charged with fraud. K9 rips the scalp and hair off of a woman. He's got something to smile about, right? Woman proudly calls herself a white supremacist. Like I said, I only promise I'm going to just go back to January. I'm only 6 days in. Cops who watched George Floyd die are found guilty. Karen calls the cops over a parking dispute. Woman says skin color will save her from a DUI. Karen's sneak attack fails to deter a biker. Portland shooter charged with murder of a protester. And this was a Black Lives Matter protest. Cops bribe a teen to extract a false confession. What was so bad about this one is, luckily, he was playing a basketball game across town where it was being filmed, which exonerated him. Nah, but there's no racism, right? We're just crying and complaining. Karen gets away with racism on a flight. We're only 8 days. 2 cops charged for killing an unarmed man. Now these are black cops here, right? They get charged immediately. They don't get the I was afraid for my life. Neo-Nazis terrorized a local book reading event. Man arrested for attacking a black teen for no reason. Trans woman falsely jailed for 6 months. Nearly murdered FedEx driver given the same route. So this was an Aubrey situation. He's delivering packages, and these two dudes start shooting at him. And then FedEx is like, hey, you need to go back to work the next day, and you need to do the same route. But this boy's traumatized. 2 cops investigated for the obvious racism after the brawl. That was when the bigger white boy was bullying folks and started beating up the little black kid, and the 2 cops ran in, tackled the black dude, and just let the white boy just sit there. Proud Boys attack camera crew. Man publicly screws up black history. Racist gets what's coming to him after a tirade. Police choke a black teen for riding a mini bike. Riding a mini bike. Did you ride a mini bike when you were a kid? I mean, you can see what's happening in the thumbnail. I'm not going to play it because there's so many to go through in just the last 2 months, right? But things are getting better. And we need to fund more police. PTA mom accused of heinous crime. Oh, is this the one?
She's a booster mom for a local high school in Tennessee, and she raped 9 students, according to the allegation.
Nope, that's not it, but that's bad. Let's continue on. Let me see where I left off here. There's so much of it. We already saw that one. Oh, now we're getting close. Here we go. Cops gang up on random bystander. Conviction overturned for the cop who shot the therapist. I don't know if you remember that. The therapist was trying to help someone who was a mentally disabled person who was in distress. He had his hands up on the ground, and they still shot him. The therapist. They shot the black therapist. Like, seriously? Principal drops slurs over the public loudspeaker. MAGA woman would rather rescue dogs than refugees. Judge and court staff mock defendants. The judge, right? The people that are ruling over our lives and sentencing us to mandatory minimums and everything else. While the female cop who pulled her gun, thinking it was her taser, gets below the recommended sentence from the prosecutors. Okay. Florida couple arrested for abusing an adopted kid. 2 cops arrested for a heinous act. Wanted man taken alive after stabbing a cop 6 times. How the fuck is he alive? How many times have we been unarmed? He stabbed a cop 6 times and he lived? Seriously. Cop gets paid leave for brutalizing a man.
A cop on paid leave.
Oh,
on the ground. On the ground.
Why are you in
On the ground before you get tased.
Why are you in life?
Turn around, get on the ground.
Hold on, Mama, I'm there.
Mama ain't on. Turn around, get on the ground. Get on the ground.
Remember, he's having a mental health issue right now.
Face down. On the ground, face down, you will be tased. On the ground, face down, you will be tased. Face down on your stomach. On your stomach. On your stomach. Stay down. Put your arms out now.
Face down on your stomach. On your stomach. I got credentials on. On your stomach. Stay down. Put your.
Boy, that was necessary, right? 13-year-old girl falsely accused of a bomb threat. Oh, here we go.
The most perverted and disgusting teacher and cop you will ever see in your natural life. Let's put up a mug shot. She's pleaded guilty because she's a monster. What did this teacher do? She has pleaded guilty to disturbing child sex crimes, including lacing cupcakes with her husband's sperm, and he was down with it, by the way, before feeding them to her students. That's the husband. He's
all right. I don't even need to play anymore. The fuck is that? You can't make this shit up. Who does that? But that's the paragon of society. A cop and a teacher. So you're going to take your husband's semen, put it in cupcakes, and take it to school and feed it to the kids. I wonder how much time they'll get.
Young black woman begged for her life for 16 hours straight, told the jail authorities, "I need medical help." They ignored her, said she was faking. She died. We have an update to this story. Audio released last month revealed 23-year-old Tanisha Chappelle begged jail staffers for medical assistance. Here's some of that.
I need one of the guards to come back here, please. Please.
Yes.
I need help.
What?
I need help.
What do you need help with?
My stomach.
What?
My stomach.
With your what? Your stomach?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know what you want me to do unless you're coughing up something crazy. So,
I need to go to the hospital.
you gotta go to the bathroom.
I need to go to the hospital.
To the hospital?
Yes.
What's wrong?
I'm throwing a blade.
I know.
I'm throwing a blade.
Yeah.
Did you hear me?
Yeah, I'm calling my sergeant. I spoke to the sergeant. He said that the nurse will see you in the morning.
I'm throwing up in my sleep.
What's your name?
Chappelle.
Alrighty.
I need help. I need help.
What's up?
Do you not see that we got a naked lady on the floor here?
Give me just a second.
Okay, I guess she's trying to get your guys' attention again. Who is? The black girl. What's she doing?
Well, if she needs something, she'll have to hit the button. Yeah.
Can you help me out of time?
Huh?
Can you help me out of time? I need help. Can you help me, please?
Spoiler alert, she fucking died. Because these heartless bastards wouldn't help her. Women, you could be driving, middle of the day, middle of the night, no insurance, no tags, texting on your phone, turning without signaling, end up in a holding cell at the worst time in your life because you got something going on medically and you don't come home. Let's see what Dr. Richie has to say. That shit is heartbreaking to hear. Her begging for help for 16 hours.
She begged for her life, 16 hours. Not one person in the chain of command who are sworn to uphold the law, uphold the Constitution, to protect and serve. Not one person said, you know, Miss Chappelle has been begging for her life for 16 hours. Maybe we need to allow her to see a medical physician. Not one person. One person. This story has more twists and turns. In an exclusive video obtained by Wave 3 News. Let's put up some of those screenshots. This is her in the cell. It's important we understand the systemic failures, the racism, the inequity, the bias, and the systemic oppression all involved in the death of a human being. She was laying in her cell room for hours in obvious pain, crying for help for 16 hours straight. She had on no clothes. At one point, she falls and she hits her head on the metal top bunk. They initially said, oh no, she almost hit her head. She collapses 4 times. They see this all on video. But her cries for help and other obvious distress, in her obvious distress state, were ignored. And they said that she was in fact faking it. For nearly 16 hours, Tanisha Chappelle pleaded with the staff of the Jackson County, Indiana jail for medical care. She repeatedly vomited blood, became dehydrated, requested several times to be taken to the hospital. But as Chappelle's pleas grew more anguished, the guards on duty got more irritated. The audio recordings from the jail prove this.
I need to put that to the side and worry about Ukraine, right? Or there's space for both. The problem is when you say that, all the effort, all the help, all the change, avocation isn't focused here. Remember, like I said, my father says charity starts at home. Bank denies black doctor's first check from her new job. Black employee discriminated against. Oh, of course, Joe Rogan, which you had a bunch of coon black folks come and cape for him. Oh, he's not racist. He's got black stepkids. Oh, he's not this and that. But no one in the mainstream media talked about how he goes into the movie theater and he's talking about walking into the Planet of the Apes. MSNBC, CNN, Fox, no one covers that, right? But no, he's not racist. Somehow we can't make that connection between how a slave master, both the men and the women, could have sex with the slaves who they detested. How could he be racist? He's got black kids. He loves black people. He's hanging out with black folks all the time. They make him money. You root for the Bulls when Jordan was playing and you were a fan. You vote and you root for Russell Wilson when he's winning Super Bowls, but you hate black people. That's very easy to understand. But somehow people just can't seem to see how he could be racist. So no, don't take him off Spotify. But you need to cancel all the black ones. So, of course, we don't make excuses for R. Kelly. Not at all. He did what he did to those kids. He needs to be in jail, right? But wasn't Elvis with a 14-year-old girl? But he's a hero. Does that make him a pedophile? But that's the sacred hero, right? Just asking for a friend. Make that make sense. Oh, I'm not even into January yet. We're still in February. Cop wins whitest black guy trophy in a bad joke. So there's not bias there. Out of control Philly cop berates black women. Women, plural. Male Karen gets instant karma for racism. Male Karen calls cops on apartment resident. White woman totally ignores her privilege. Parents sue school over revolting viral TikTok. You need to watch what your kids access on TikTok. That is a vile space. Militia group member elected into power. Mega pastor. Trump is the blackest president. Look at this coon. Trump is the blackest president? What the? I mean, it's so insane, it's actually funny. Woman gets prison time for just trying to vote. You've heard that story where she got all those years. I think she got 6 years. Cops shoot a man during a no-knock warrant. Of course. Woman sues Tesla for horrible abuse. Cooker cop arrested twice within hours. State Bill 666 might legalize lynching in Missouri. Anyone live in Missouri? Ex-cop gets 2 years for brutality at Breonna Taylor. Cop quits after troubling harassment claims. Of course, Brian Flores sues the NFL for racial discrimination, but let's put that under the bridge because, you know, we had Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg at the Super Bowl halftime show, so, you know, that's not a big deal. Violent cop files a wrongful firing lawsuit. Damn, look at that eye. School employee plays spy camera in the bathroom. Bomb threats lock down HBCU campuses. This was at the beginning of Black History Month. Cop records himself committing a hate crime. Teen shot by cops gets a $650,000 settlement. Nazi thugs attack people on the streets of Orlando. Trump promises pardons to Jan 6 rioters. Police hid identity of cop who paralyzed teen. But we need to give him more money. We know how powerful the police unions are. Mom drops a racial slur at school board meeting. Yeah, I think you get the point. I don't even want to go through January. You know, it's too much. It's too much. But again, maybe you can hear from someone else. Because, you know, maybe I'm biased, right? Maybe what I'm seeing isn't really what I'm seeing. And I need to forgive. And I need to just pray and hope that everything's going to be okay. And just keep on marching and just keep on standing and everything will work out. In the meantime, things are getting worse and worse. Resources are becoming more finite. When the music stops, there aren't enough chairs. They're going to come for you during the midterm elections. They're going to try to scare you and tell you that, you know, Trump hasn't been charged yet and he can come back into power and we can't lose the Senate or the House. You know, for me, the Democratic and the Republican Party, two wings on a racist bird. And, you know, we are intellectually honest here. So, of course, not all. But we have to say that, don't we? Not typically the other way around. I'll be back. But you needed to know this while it was fresh. I look forward to seeing who's a little standoffish next week. Oh, man. 22. It's going to be interesting. Gloves are coming off. Truth's going to be told. It is what it is. If you cooning and buffooning and you in this county, this ain't the place to be, man. I'm telling you. If you're a performative ally, faking the funk on a nasty dunk, we're coming for you too. Again, shout out to the delicious tea. Robos. I don't even know if I'm saying Robos correct. Robos and Earl Grey. Delicious combination. Yeah, you know who I am. This is the Conduit. I'll see your ass next time.